Good morning, friends. It's Heather at Bush Puppy Farm. I am a gardener and flower farmer in Zone 9B in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm so glad you're here. Thanks so much for joining me. So today, I'm not going out to the farm. I woke up with a migraine, and the medication has mostly helped, but being out there in the sun for a while, probably a pretty bad idea. Just make it worse. And it's already noon. So I'm going to do the one job that I really need to get done today. And as you can tell, since I'm putting on my bee suit, it is bee related. And then probably going to take it easy for the rest of the day. We are about to get a pretty major storm with at least an inch of rain, along with high winds and very cold temperatures for May. Some of us may even get frost. That's crazy. The Sierras are going to get inches of snow. This is not absolutely rare for May, but it's pretty uncommon. Normally our rainy season ends around the end of April, and we don't really see rain again until November. So this bonus storm is super exciting because the amount of rain it's going to deliver is going to delay our fire season, and that's always good news. So even though I have those seedlings still to get in at the farm, and I'm hoping the high winds don't take the Bio360 and pull it off, because that's what it did last time, I am not going to transplant them today. They will get plenty of water. They'll be fine. We're not going to get frost here. It'll get cold, though. It'll probably be in the upper 30s, maybe low 40s, although we've been getting around 47, 46 degrees every night anyway. So I don't want to transplant today, not just because of the remnant migraine, but if I transplant and that Bio360 gets blown off, it's going to take a lot of those seedlings with it, and it's going to be a disaster. So I would rather just leave it down right now with no holes poked in it and see how it does through the storm. On Monday, we can go out and transplant, and those seedlings will be just fine. And I can finish laying down the Bio360 on the beds that need it. So what we're going to do today is open up both beehives. The Demeter hive, which is my original hive, has so much honey in it that I need to harvest more. So I have a whole bunch of empty frames that I'm going to give them. We'll see how many frames I can take. I'm only going to take the frames that are like 90+% full of honey and capped. If they're open and it's just nectar, I'm going to leave the frames in. And then I can give them frames to replace it. And then I'm going to open the Persephone hive, put a queen excluder down, and give them their honey super, the first honey super. So they have 2 deep boxes right now. They are filling those with brood, and I want to let them continue to do that. And then I'm going to supply them with a honey super. And I think what I'm going to do is give that hive, the Persephone hive, the wet frames from spinning the honey. So that will give them a real big jump start since it's a brand new hive. So let me finish suiting up, get my smoker started, and we'll go out there and see what we can see. Wow, I'm hot and sweaty. I had sweat running into my eyeballs. It's not even that hot outside. Must have just been that I was not anxious, but trying to move methodically, slowly, but also get it done, and not upset them. They were very calm, very calm. I never got bumped once. They did not want to come off of those honey frames. They were just like, yeah, we're hanging out. And I had to I forgot to bring my feather duster thing out because that's easier to swipe them off with than your hand. Because the gloves, it's not as kind. But I don't think I killed any bees because everybody seemed very chill. And And the only reason I used the smoke was to try to get them off the frames. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even needed to smoke. They were very calm. So what you saw, hopefully, I have no idea if any of that footage turned out, is I went into the Demeter frame hive, and it has 2 honey supers in it. The one below it, the unpainted box, that is a newer box I put on a couple of weeks ago, and the box on top is the older box. And so that one I had harvested from, I think when did we get COVID? I don't know, whenever that was. That's the weekend I harvested it, right before I got sick with COVID. And I got 6 frames out of it initially. I left frames then at the time that weren't completely capped over honey. And I did the same thing this time. So I had one frame that was beautifully capped, like 100% the one side, but the other side was still completely untouched. So that frame stayed in. And I gave them all new frames. So they have some, I think they have, let's see, if I took 7 here, they have 3 frames left that I did not take that they were still working on. And I gave them 7 new frames that already have, it's foundation, but I've rubbed beeswax all over it. So that kind of helps, first of all, it gets their noses going and they're like, oh, okay, well, this is a good place to build. So they're good for a while. And then I opened the Persephone hive, and that mat you saw me put down on top is a queen excluder. So all the workers can fit up through those slats, but the queen is too big. She can't go up there. So what that does is it prevents her from going up and laying brood in the honey super. Now, I don't usually use queen excluders, and it's not a big deal. Like, it does make your honey processing a little more kind of yucky because you have brood in there that you're going to have to filter out. But I did not use a honey super in the Demeter hive for that top super, and there are no brood at all in there. It's all honey. So yeah, so I put the honey super in there. You know, we'll see how that goes. I gave them the box. They're shy 1 frame, but that's okay. The frames that I did give them, I'm going to replace with these frames, these wet frames, when I'm done processing the honey. So those frames are just in there as a holder for now. There's something called bee space, and the Langstroth, the guy who came up with this particular type of hive, discovered that space, and basically he figured out that if you have your frames any closer, they won't build on the frames, that are too close together. But if you have them any further apart, then they'll build a huge amount of comb in there and you won't be able to separate the frames. So there's a specific spacing for each of these frames. And so it's better to make sure you have all the frames in there. If I left that and didn't add the final frame, then they would fill that whole side with comb and I wouldn't be able to get it out without destroying the comb completely. And I don't want to do that. So, all right. It is a warm day today. This is a good day to process honey. When it's cold, it doesn't tend to want to come out of the frames. So because it's going to be really cold tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and process this honey. I am going to do it in the garage with the lights on, because if I open this door while I'm processing honey, the bees will come in and they'll be curious because they'll smell the honey, and I don't really want to deal with that. So it's not maybe going to be the best lighting, but this will give you an idea of how it's done. I've used this, this is going to be my second time using this extractor. I like it a lot, but I'm still new to all of this. So I will go over how we do this in just a moment. Okie dokie. So this is the honey extractor. I'll bring it closer to show you in a minute. But basically it holds frames this way, and you spin it like this, and centrifugal force causes the honey to come out of the frames, hit the sides of the extractor, go down into the cavity at the bottom, and then there's a gate, a honey gate. There's a honey gate right here that you open up, and it needs to be filtered. So we put this bucket under here with a filter mesh, and the honey gets filtered through the bucket, through the mesh, into this bucket, which is then, it's nice and clean. And then it has its own honey gate, which we fill our jars from. So inside, you can see there are 3 slots here for the frames. They just slide in like this, and you spin for a while. Once it's all out of the one side, then you flip the frames over to get the other side. But in order to get the honey out of the frames, we first have to uncap them. This is capped honey here. It's got a covering on it, so it prevents it from coming out of these frames. This is wax. So we're also going to save the wax cappings. There are two ways that you can open up or uncap your honey. One way is to completely remove the comb from the foundation, or if you don't use foundation, the comb from the entire frame. If you do that, you'll have lots of beeswax as well as your honey. There's a lot more filtering that you have to do, but then you have more beeswax. The other thing you can do is just scrape the cappings off. That will give you less beeswax, but it will allow the comb for the most part to stay intact, and that helps your bees because it gives them, the foundation is already kind of there. All they need to do is clean it up a little bit. They don't have to build all new comb, and then they have nice fresh comb to add more nectar to. So it kind of lets them use their energy for other pursuits than building comb with their own wax. So that's the method I'm going to do today. I do enjoy having beeswax, and I can melt it down and, make it into bars, which I can then use for various things. But today I'm going to save the wax cappings, which will still be able to melt down. There'll still be a decent amount of wax. But I really want to give wet frames to the new hive. They're going to be working really hard to raise brood and put up stores for the winter. So I want to give them a head start for that. All right, so tools for this. So I can opt to use this to uncap the honey. It's a capping knife, super, super sharp, kind of like a bread knife. But I find that it's not as easy for me to use as this little comb scraper. So I just scrape off the cappings. And this I find, at least with my skill, which is very low, tends to keep more of the comb in place on the frames. So I'm going to go ahead and scrape all the cappings off, and then we'll get started getting these frames to extract the honey. All right, so I've extracted the honey from those 7 frames. Here it is down here in the bottom of the extractor, and you can see all the wax cappings and It's all up and down the sides. So the next steps are to filter it. First, I want to show you, I put those frames back in this box. It's so much lighter now. I can actually pick the box up. It was so heavy to carry this in. But the frames are there. They're going to go back to the bees, not tomorrow because it's going to be a big stormy day, but sometime next week. We have wax cappings and honey over here from scraping it off. All of that will also get strained because I want to get as much honey out as possible, but there's a decent amount of wax there. And now I've got our bucket set up. We're going to open the honey gate, and this is going to slowly strain. And it's I'll probably leave it overnight so that, you know, we can make sure we get it all out. And we'll also have to come in and tilt this extractor a bit so that we can get the last dregs out of the bottom of the extractor. Now, the first time I used the extractor, all I kept thinking was, how on earth am I going to clean that thing? What's going to be a nightmare? It wasn't at all. Hot water. All I did was use hot water. I boiled my kettles and took it outside and ran hot water through it, and it was lickety-split clean like that. It was great. So, but trick for you, if you ever do this or work with wax, beeswax at all, if you are going to clean, when you go to clean your strainers from beeswax, don't use hot water. Use cold water, very cold water, because that will harden the wax and you'll be able to just kind of break it off out of there. Otherwise, if you use hot water, that will fill in, the wax will melt and it'll fill in all the little holes in your sieve. Because as you can see, this is a very fine mesh sieve, and then it'll be in there forever. It'll almost be useless at that point. So, all right, let's open this honey gate. This is always fun. Okay, here comes the honey. And so you can see the sieve is important because it is taking this raw honey and it's not cooking it or anything. It's leaving the honey raw, but it's going to filter out all the extra wax cappings. Now, this honey is so lovely because there was no brood in this super. The last time I filtered, or last time we harvested honey, we did have some brood that we had to, but that's what the sieve is for. And it was dead. It wasn't like it was living baby bees, but it's really nice to know that basically all I'm getting out of this is just going to be, wax cappings. Okay, so this is going to take some time. We'll come back and check it once it's pretty much done. Okay, so it's been a little bit of time. This went faster than the earlier time this year because it's warm today. So take a look. Okay, in here is this is the strainer, and you can see all we've really got left is wax cappings. It is pretty much dry. That's going to make a lot of great beeswax. It's still dripping a little bit, and then under here, that is all honey. And you can see from the outside here, that's a pretty full. This is a 5-gallon bucket, so that's about 2 gallons. So what I'm going to do tomorrow is wash all of my jars and, wash and sterilize them. Then we're going to fill them up, put the labels on them, and then post them up for purchase on the website and let all my local friends know that we have more honey available. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today while we did our fun honey harvest. It went really smoothly. And it was super fun. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.